Okay, 5 o'clock on my dot. All my bells are ringing. So we're going to call to order the Utility Service Board meeting for Monday, July 3rd. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the June 20th meeting. Are there any corrections or questions regarding the minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next, we're going to have the approval of claims. We have the standard invoices with a total of $565,149.69. Are there any questions on the claims?
I had a question.
Yes.
On page 4, Pace Analytical Services, about 3/4 of the way down, the annual PT sampling analysis at Cook Inc. I just wondered if you could tell me about what that is.
PT stands for pretreatment, if you ever see that in the abbreviation. So it's the analysis of the water samples from the Cook. Cook has a pretreatment permit from us for a metal finishing operation.
Okay.
So we sample it on a regular basis and.
Okay. And that's at our expense, though?
Yeah, we do
Yes.
that, yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I know no further questions.
Jeff?
Yeah, gosh, where is it? Irving Material, I didn't look up the page number. Oh, here we go. It's page 3. And there's about $27,000 of concrete at 512 East Kirkwood. And I was like, what address is that? So I looked it up, and it was the Underground Printing, Bloomington. And I thought, I walk by here all the time. I didn't see anything really that large going on. And so I just stopped on my way and just kind of looked around and didn't see any broken pavement or new pavement. So I was just a little curious about that particular address and the amount of concrete being billed for that address.
Well, it's a stormwater project, so do you know which project that is? I would have to ask James when he's back.
Because it's on the south side of Kirkwood, and I know, the most of our infrastructure is out there to the north just a little bit.
Yeah, it may have been a repair associated with something there. I'll
Okay.
talk to James about it.
Just curious.
Yeah, I'll find out for next time.
Thank you.
I just wondered if it could have been the conduit behind the Von Lee.
Because that
That is exactly what it is.
But the
conduit.
address doesn't match up.
The
That's
address
why.
doesn't match up. Yeah, no, we just laid that conduit behind.
That would be the north side of the street.
Yeah,
But this is something on the south, so that's what threw me.
Yeah, I don't know why they put the address there, but that would be a lot of concrete. We just put the casings in for the Duke cables for the stormwater project over at Von Lee.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is. It's probably just a bad address.
I figured that was
Yeah.
the case. Okay, thank you.
I'll confirm.
Any other questions? All right, there are no further questions. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Right, motion passes. The next item are the utility bills, and these are for a total of $27,765.78. Are there any changes or questions regarding the utility bills? All right. Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The next item are wire transfers in the amount of $435,227.40. Are there any questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. And then finally, customer refunds for a total of $4,576.66. Are there any questions on the customer refunds? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next item is the consent agenda with Vic.
Good evening, everyone. Vic Kelson, Utilities Director. I'm happy to bring tonight's approval of consent agenda for that totals $29,058.44. The first item is $4,035.14 to Cummins Sales and Service. This was a repair of a fuel leak on a generator at the intake. The second is to Suez Analytical Instruments. This is $5,741.80 to calibrate and service the total organic carbon analyzer at Monroe. That happens once a year. The third item is to Corson for $3,081.50 for maintenance to fire equipment. And then finally, to Wessler Engineering, $16,200. This is engineering consulting for the drafting of the stormwater amendments to the comprehensive plan. If there are, would anyone like to consider any of these individually? Hearing none, if there's no opposition, the consent agenda will be approved as recommended by staff. Hearing no opposition, the consent agenda is approved. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Next, we have the request for approval of an MOU with Touchdown Terrace LLC for their sewer contribution for properties located at 19th Street and Dunn Street. And then following that, Chris, this is Chris, and then he'll also then be presenting on the next item as well.
Hi, Phil Peden with engineering. Phil's not here tonight, so I'm going to try and pretend that I know anything about engineering, but this board has seen these types of MOUs in the past, and what engineering attempts to do when it has done sewer expansions around the city will then earmark those sections and pay attention to any new development that comes along upstream from the sewer development that would increase capacity and use of that upgraded sewer area. And in this situation, we have an MOU for 19th and North Dunn Street between CBU and Touchdown Terrace LLC. They are, as I understand it, putting in new apartment buildings, which will increase the use of this average flow or capacity, if you will, of this sanitary sewer stretch by 3.72%. The parties worked on that average, agreed to it, understood the amount of the cost that CBU spent to expand the sewer downstream, which was roughly $2.25 million worth of expansion. And so the calculation done for this MOU and the agreement made was for a one-time contribution by the developer in the amount of $92,548.38. And staff recommends approval of this MOU.
Are there any questions for Mr. Wheeler?
Yes, please. Okay, so just to make sure I understand this correctly, the proportion that we're paying is, or that they are paying is in proportion to what they're using to attach to this for us?
It's a calculation of the increase in the flow.
Okay,
Yeah, so basically it's their percentage of use, which extrapolates out to be the amount that they should pay towards contribution for the upgrade. That allows them to even build these apartments in the first place, right?
yes.
So without that expansion downstream, it's likely that they would have had to foot a larger bill and have the sewer expanded in order to serve their capacity at this time.
Okay, thank you. And our staff agrees that this is a correct amount, that we feel like that covers it.
Yeah, engineering does the calculations
Okay.
to determine what that expanded capacity is, and they propose it to the developer and work on an agreement with them.
Perfect, thank you.
When I looked up the parcels, are these two adjacent parcels, or is it?
So I don't know if it's all one development, but on two different parcels, and so they're being, I don't know how they,
Yeah.
why we have two separate MOUs. I don't know the answer to that. I wish that engineering was here to answer that for
Yeah.
you. We could certainly get that
The
information.
one, we have the actual physical address and was able to look that up, and then it just says 19th and Dunn, so, I mean, it's neither here nor there, just kind of
Yeah,
curious.
but I can get that information for the board.
Yeah.
And have a follow-up. We could get that information to you as a follow-up at a later meeting or through an email.
Yeah, I'm just curious if it's, like you said, is it separate buildings, or is it one building that's going up and it just happens to be adjacent properties? I don't know, so.
They are separate.
They are separate,
Yeah,
okay.
We're reviewing the
Yeah.
second one.
Okay, you have to come up to the mic. That's okay. And And state your name for the record.
Liz Carter, I'm the MS4 program coordinator. So this first one started construction about a year ago, the 19th and Dunn, and it was a bunch of different parcels that were owned by separate property owners on the north side of the street.
Okay.
And I think they didn't have an address because they had so many parcels with so many address numbers. They're just like, we'll call it 19th and Dunn till we're finished. The one that's south of that, it's a little confusing because this particular project has started staging things in the project to the south. The second one that he's about to present is 420 East 19th Street. That is still in the design phase. It hasn't been permitted to start yet, but they should be
Gotcha.
starting anytime.
Okay.
But it's the same contractor, same owner, and it's in the same place, so it's very confusing.
Thank you. That helps. I appreciate that, Liz. Any further, Jeff?
I'm going to editorialize just a little bit, but I'll ask a question at the end, and then it'll be a question. So just please correct me if I'm wrong. My understanding is that we did something on like a spreadsheet exercise for the area on North Dunn, and so we could determine the incremental volumes. And the large development at 17th and Dunn came in before we had done this exercise, and they didn't pay anything for the addition of the sewer. These two projects came in after we'd done that exercise, so these two projects are being asked to contribute for their proportion of the new sewer. Is that much correct?
I don't know the history behind,
That's, I think, what was
Those
presented here at
calculations.
the board. Maybe other board members
No,
can.
that's the way I recall.
Okay.
This is, because he came and did a whole
Yeah.
presentation with showing us everything.
Okay, because I'll have to talk to these people. And I know them. So then, what we're doing on the basin to the west of College and Walnut, we're doing more detailed modeling of the system up front of any development, so we can allocate the incremental additional infrastructure and have different developers pay for that as well, but just with a different modeling tool. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So my question was, did I get everything correct? So at least,
yes, you did.
Thank you.
Any further questions? All right, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the MOU for the 19th Street and Dunn Street?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. And shall we just go ahead and put the
Yes.
MOU for the second project, which is at 420 East 19th Street? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
I'm sorry, I'm going to back up.
Okay.
I would think, would you like to, did you ask if there was any discussion for this MOU? I don't remember hearing that question posed to the board. Was
I
that?
did not. I don't think I did, but if are there any questions about this MOU?
I guess for the record, can you state the amount?
Yeah, sure.
Thank
So
you.
this one, it's with the same parties, so we're still dealing with Touchdown Terrace Touchdown Terrace South LLC. And the amount of average flow is 2.61%, and that percentage extrapolated out for the cost of the sanitary sewer infrastructure located south of this project, or downstream, if you will, turns out to be $64,838. That's a percentage of the roughly $2.5 million expense.
Thank you.
Are there any questions on this one? And thank you for correcting, making sure we're in right, doing things properly. Any questions on this one? All right. All right, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the MOU for 420 East 19th Street?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Now, motion passes.
Thank you.
All right. The next item is a request for an approval for the amendment on a residential stormwater grant. And that's Liz.
Liz Carter, the MS4 Program Coordinator. This residential stormwater grant was approved in the round of grants that came forward in 2021, and it included work within public right-of-way that ran across 3 different properties. And CBU took a look at it internally, and we kind of changed our minds and decided we wanted to perform this work in public right-of-way. That's typically where we do our work. So the amendment to this grant reflects the removal of the dollars that have been allocated for work in public right-of-way, and it leaves the amount of the grant that was for private property only. The homeowner that lives on Viva Drive has actually already completed the work on the private property, so the amount listed in here, we know it's the correct amount. It's essentially what her contractor has invoiced us to install a French drain and then patch some pavement in her driveway. And CBU staff were out on Viva just a couple weeks ago, might be months now, and we talked to all the neighbors involved about what they would like to see in right-of-way. So there's a ditch, it's kind of becoming flattened, that's creating water flow towards people's houses. So we talked over with all the neighbors along that way about doing a kind of like a vegetated swale. We talked to them about what kind of landscaping they'd be willing to keep up with if we were to plant it for them. And I think we have a couple of them that are really interested in doing kind of more like rain garden type plants. So our plan is to get that work done this fall, and then this grant will be completely over and done with 2 years later. Do you have any questions for me?
Is there any money that was paid to the homeowner that has to be reimbursed, or this is?
So we're going to pay, I think, either the homeowner or their contractor $1,200 for the work that was done on private property. The rest of the money that was allocated in this grant, we will use to fund the CBU project in right-of-way. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense. Are there any other questions? All right. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Great, motion passes. Thank you. All right. Next, is there any old business from the board? Is there any old business from staff?
None, thank you.
I do have a question, because there were some questions at the last meeting that the board had about the interdepartmental. I thought we might have some follow-up on that.
It
But-
will be the next time because Matt Havey's on PTO today,
Okay.
and Jeff McMillan was not available today.
Right.
So they'll
But
be
the
back.
questions that we had were forwarded to Jeff.
I haven't heard, did we get answers?
We haven't received any answers.
We've not received response from Jeff.
It's my understanding he's going to present those.
Okay, so that'll be on the next agenda.
Correct.
Great. Okay.
Yes, I have something else for old business from the board then.
Okay.
On that
yeah.
topic, if we could get the answers before the meeting, that would be, very helpful rather than having them at the same time. I need to process the information a bit. Thanks.
Okay. On a different topic that we discussed last meeting, I wanted to thank you and Matt for the follow-up with the Smithville contract that we'd signed at Blucher Pool. I looked that up, that we'd signed that back in September for the increase of 100 megabits per second and 5 voice lines. And so that was going to be like a $655.50 a month contract. And it looks like that we're paying total $797.24 a month. And so I'll just follow up with Matt later just to kind of see what's that discrepancy. I know we have a modem fee and a fax fee, but it looks like our main $716 fee is still about $60 more. So I know that's like real nitpicky, but I want to be, wise with our dollars here and make sure that everything matches up. So I just wanted to say thank you for following up that for us with the board. And my other things would be new business. Thank you.
On that note, yeah, it reminded me that, because the initial charge was $1,700, so if we could just understand, was there a $1,000 installation fee, or, why that, was that for 3 months, or, yeah, thank you.
Because the contract stated that it would start like immediately in September, but then like the 1,700, I think, was at the April bill, and then we had 700 at May and 700 at June, so.
Did you understand why it was 1,700?
No, I did not,
Okay.
but I just mean it, yes,
Okay, thanks.
good question.
Okay, so we will have further follow-up in old business on those particular two items at the next meeting. Okay, great. Anything else I missed? All right. All right. Is there any new business from the board? All right. Yes, Molly?
I think I can say this here. I just wanted to say thank you to CBU for putting a water sense hanger on my door because we had no idea that there was a leak in our front line connecting the main to our house. And they caught it within a week of it leaking. And if they hadn't caught it and let us know, we still wouldn't know because I haven't gotten my next bill yet. So by my calculation, that's saved over 20,000 gallons of water. So really appreciate that. And you sent a staff person out right away to come help us confirm that and get things going, so.
Great.
That means our systems are working. Yes.
and-
You were not a secret shopper.
No. It was like a hang tag on our door.
Yeah, if you sign up,
I learned that later.
because we've been watering our lawn, so every day I get
Oh, yeah.
a notification that I'm
Yeah.
above average. So it's really helpful to, so do that.
Yes.
And we try to do that every time. Sometimes that they don't get through, but we try as hard as we can. And the new meters have helped a lot.
Excellent. Is there any new business from staff?
I'm sorry,
Oh.
I had a couple
Oh.
questions or comments. Thank you. Okay. The first one, I just wondered, how did all of our sites fare during all of the storms that we
Oh, I
had?
was gonna do that in
Okay, I'll
staff
give you that one in a
reports.
second. Okay, then, the second one would be, I know that we've had plenty of rain lately, but this is typically the time when we enter a drought. And then the last 2 years, since we've called it a pattern with the aesthetic taste of the water, is that also on your list, or, no, okay. So, I just wondered, since we're entering this time, let's say like we get all this rain this week and then it never rains again for 2 months, like when do we start monitoring that?
Oh, we already have.
Okay,
We monitor for algae. We monitor for algae in the water and watch the populations. We also do sample for the taste and odor compounds. They're called MIB and geosmin. We, right now, are doing jar testing at the plant. We have an intern there who's been really working hard at running jar tests, exploring different kinds of activated carbon that could be used, because some is made from coconut and some is made from all different coal and all different kinds of things. So the idea is to, there are varieties of activated carbon that are particularly good for certain things, but are more expensive. So we're looking into what our ability would be to, say, switch or have some either to raise the amount of carbon that we use when we're anticipating taste and odor issues, or possibly use something that's more effective. So we are in the process of doing jar testing and experimentation to figure out what we can do without actually having to buy a bunch of equipment, just do more water testing and more analysis of what our capabilities are given the current equipment.
thank you. So this jar testing is something that we've not done in previous years, this particular way?
Yeah, we always do jar testing,
Okay.
but this is the first time we've ever done it for taste and odor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you
And-
have to get standard taste and odor chemicals to put in the water to make the samples, and then you can see how much you can
Okay.
take out.
And this is probably a stupid question, but do people actually like drink the water when they're testing it to say this tastes bad? or
No, we have it tested.
I mean, I know it's like chemically or whatever tested, but like there's not like a,
You could smell it.
taste it
I don't
now.
know if I'd want them
Okay.
tasting it. Yeah.
okay,
No. What happens is after we do the jar test, then we can have the water tested.
okay. All right, thank you.
Anything else?
Not for me.
Okay. All right. I don't think we had any subcommittees, so no subcommittee reports, but we do have a subcommittee at our next meeting, which
Right.
is that's the is that one the
17.
finance, or is that
17.
admin
Admin
first?
first.
And
then-
that is at 4:30. Okay.
And then finance would be at the next meeting.
Perfect. Are
And
there,
that one will have the 2024 budget in it.
and for that one, we are requesting that if all board members can try to be at the finance one so that we can expedite any questions and go into the details of the budget. The subcommittee will still run that meeting, but we would like to have all board members there so that we can take care of questions during the budget committee if possible.
That's on the 31st.
That is the 31st.
At 4?
Yes.
And then we could either, if the board wants to take up the budget that night, we could, which would get us ahead of the game. But we would have a backup date. Our hearing is on the 29th, so there would be one more meeting in between.
If we didn't get all of the questions
If we
answered
didn't,
or,
yeah.
yeah, perfect. That's great.
Historically, it's gone, we've been able to get the questions answered, so I'm confident. But
And will Matt be preparing the budget memo that we've had in the past too?
actually, we've done 2 revisions of it already.
Good,
and-
good.
And, yeah, we meet with the mayor again on the 11th.
That's very helpful for us to kind of see the summary of everything, so we definitely appreciate that.
We will do that.
Okay, staff reports.
I'd like to start with Liz. Liz has a presentation about the cleanup at the Miller Showers property. This came up in a board meeting the other day, I think, so.
Yeah, this was a question 2 weeks ago. So I got with my staff, and we have a very cool map here of the mechanical BMPs at Miller Showers. They're the red dots. So the 3 in the middle, where the leaders are kind of making a spider web towards them, those were cleaned out in February of this year, so very recently. The northernmost and the southernmost have not been cleaned out since 2015. My staff tell me that is because the vac truck cannot access them as it is. It needs like an extender onto the vacuum arm to get to the where you lift the lid and vacuum out all the gross stuff. So they can't get there without having to drive over the sidewalks that belongs to parks, and that would certainly break the sidewalks because the vac truck is very heavy. So they're working with T&D to get like an extender for the vac truck so they can get to those 2 sites. They anticipate getting it to them by the end of this year. Any other, that's all we kind of had to report on that. Any other questions?
Thank you for the update and the more detailed information than we had before. It was our understanding that none of them had been cleaned out for a very long time, so.
I think that might have been true, but they are definitely on our radar now. If you remember when I gave a presentation a few months ago, there was a picture of a beaver at the end. That's where they discovered the beaver, when they were cleaning out those 3 in the middle. They just can't figure out a way to get to the northernmost and southernmost without getting some additional tubing to get there. So, okay.
Great. Thanks, Liz.
Okay, back to me. We do have new staff since our the last time I provided this information. We'll be doing this monthly in the future. First is Caden Swanson, who joins us as a utilities engineer. That position has been vacant since Phil took over as assistant director, so that's a great thing. Kieran Corcoran has joined us as a communications operator. Kenneth Larman joins us as a specialized crew leader in T&D, and Emily Tate joins us as an administrative assistant in T&D. We also have one interdepartmental move. Kason Page has moved over to be the full-time water quality assistant in the environmental division. We also have 3 employees who completed internal training programs to become specialized crew leaders. That's Andrew Bowden, Brad Elkins, and David Pittman. They're all now specialized crew leaders in T&D. Kaylee Bollinger at Dillman has passed the wastewater Class 2 license exam. She's now classified as a Class 2 apprentice because she needs to complete her in-service time before she's officially licensed. And Doug Sturry from our Monroe plant took the wastewater class 1 license and passed it. And then finally, we have, as you know, the question of CDL licenses has been a big one lately. The city had developed a program for getting CDL training for employees at the city's cost, and we have 3 people who've completed it. Blake McClintock, Zach Palu, and Kenneth Larman, all in T&D, have completed the CDLB license training. So they're the first group to graduate from that. So I think that's just great that we're moving along with that. The other item I have is about our staff retreat. You might remember we did a contract with an organization to do training on the effective utility management program with one of the authors of the program. That will be this Friday at the IU Golf Course meeting room. Board members are welcome to join us for that. The executive staff will be there for that, and certainly would love to have board members there to talk about what we're doing and what we're doing well and what we need to do. So I'll make sure the details of the time are sent your way, but it's most of a day and we'll have lunch there. But they'll be there at the golf course training room. Do you think, if it's possible, there are 4 board members who are interested, we will need to advertise it. So I would want to get an idea. Do you think we should just go ahead and advertise it as possibly having a majority of the board present?
I will not be there.
Okay. Well, maybe we won't advertise it then.
Then you're
Okay.
good. Yeah, it's this Friday.
I
Yeah.
would be there the whole time if I'm able to join.
Okay.
So.
Can you talk just a little bit more about it and what the training's going to consist of? I'm sorry, I wasn't paying close enough attention, I don't think.
Yeah, what the training, we're doing, there's going to be multiple parts of it, so if you can't be at this one, that's fine. Basically, the EUM breaks down all of the activities that you do in managing a utilities organization into category groups. So there's like operational efficiency and customer service and all the different things. So rather than breaking, and you've seen it in our budget the last several years, we used to organize the budget presentation by saying, now we're going to talk about water, now we're going to talk about sewer, and now we're going to talk about storm. What we do now is we talk in terms of these activity areas and how those activity areas relate to all of the utilities. So it makes everything feel more coherent as an analytical tool for looking how we operate. Then the EUM process is sort of a cyclic process like a lot of them are. So the first thing you do is you assess where you are, and you assess what changes you want to make to the various activity areas, prioritizing them according to where you think you need to make the most progress, and you use that as a guidance tool as you do strategic planning for the utility. So that's what we're working through this year.
In this
So-
first one, what is the activity area?
It's to talk about how the program is organized. And, yeah. and
It's
we-
an overview of a kickoff.
It's a kickoff and discussion, and sort of it includes an exercise, and we did it at a board meeting 4 years ago. It was pre-pandemic, where we had the big sheet, and we put the marks on it as to where we thought we were in the different, and it's basically, one of the activities you do starting out is looking at what do you think are the most important, rate these different categories in terms of how important they are, and then rate these categories as to how well you think we're doing at them. And that's an interesting exercise, just as a first look at where we are. So that'll be part of it, and we got a new team now, and we're going to be, but then we'll go through the training on all of that and the whole organizational plan of it at this time. So if you can come, I'd love to have you. We will try to get materials to you about it so that you can read them over. And I know we do have an intention to have a board specific conversation as we go through the process.
And who's attending this? Is it management or?
Yeah, it's gonna be the ADs and me and Holly, and I can't remember who else. I think it's mostly us and any board members that want to come. So
And-
this is sort of the first walk in the door.
And no one from city HR, correct?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, this is entirely about operations. It's not about staff or anything like that. And then then the last thing I wanted to talk about is the storm, which happened while I was in Maine, and I didn't even know about it. I didn't even know there was a storm until I heard from Kirk, asking me how things turned out. The wastewater plants had short outages and came right back. The power came right back. At Monroe, at the plant, the power came right back, but the power did not come right back at the intake. They struggled with it for a while and had ultimately had contractors come in to look through what had happened. What it appears happened is there was a failure in a relay that caused the interlock to not turn off when the generator was not in service. So basically what happened is you couldn't run the generator and you couldn't run off of Duke power because this interlock kept switching it. Say, turn it on, it would come on for 10 or 15 seconds and then turn right off. They were able to find that and disable the thing that was locking us out. So the plant came right back up. We were down altogether about 10 hours or so, 10 to 12 hours. And then during that time, by coincidence, we're doing the big project right now to replace the bar screens. And because of that, we have that temporary intake has been deployed down there for use during the bar screen project when we may have to turn off pairs of pumps. So it's there for backup. And they did run that during the outage, so we were able to make 6 or 7 MG during that time. So we were able to keep tank levels up pretty well, and things are mostly back to normal now. So, yeah, it was an adventure. Stormwater crews obviously had a lot to deal with inlets and so forth, but everybody put in a lot of time, and I wasn't here, but when I came back, it looked like they'd done a fine job. And I just want to thank everybody for all the time and effort that went into all of that. And I'd like to thank our Duke partners for making sure the power got back on at the plants as fast as possible. We were struggling with some lift stations as well. One lift station, I think you're going to see a contract for repairs. The generator failed and it was overflowing, but we were able to contact the controller and did an emergency contract to get somebody out there to fix that one. So we got through it.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to thank everyone at T&D and all the plants and everyone here for all that they did to get us through the storm. And that's-
I have a question. So, is there a way that we're automatically notified, say, if a lift station goes on generator power? Or how, yes, okay. And so were there multiple lift stations probably had to use their generators?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And are those gas generators? Didn't we send out to get them refilled?
I think they're diesel.
Oh, okay, well,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So
But we
we
have
just
the-
refuel them then?
Yeah, we have the ability to refuel them.
Okay.
yes.
Because who knows when the next need might be, and we want to be ready.
Yeah, and we do test them out. Test them out on a regular basis. I don't think we've had to run them as long as we did this time.
Yeah. And so, yes, thank you to all of our staff, the Duke, the REMC folks, people from out of state who are coming in to help. I know we still have local folks without power, so thank you to all of our utility workers.
Kirk?
We did pretty well because it could have been a lot worse. When I saw the Duke maps Thursday night, I'd never seen anything like that before. I was shocked. Back since I was county commissioner and had to start looking at that stuff, I thought, this is a disaster. I couldn't imagine how Duke was going to get this stuff up for days. And the map was 50% blue. The county was 50% down. And if you looked at, I thought, my gosh, there's got to be, impacts. And that's why I asked you about lift stations, because I could just imagine. And you mentioned that the larger ones have generator backup, but the smaller ones don't.
The smaller
Is that
ones
right?
don't. That's right.
So when they fill up, what happens next? There's an overflow, or?
There can be an overflow. We can vacuum some of them out if we need to.
We've got the control center can tell when they're full, I think.
They have, well, not if the power's out. So, so we have a lift station crew. We have 4 lift station mechanics that cruise around, and then others can help out as necessary. But we do have the ability to go out there and vacuum them out if we need to.
One of the things that, I've learned from my Army experience is when you go through an exercise like this, the best thing to do is learn from the mistakes. So I think I don't know if we made any mistakes, but we sure had an experience. And so what I would recommend is you get the team together that had to struggle through this, because it seems like it was a struggle Thursday night. Get them together for an hour and capture what went well and what didn't, so that we can be better prepared next time, because it sounds like we got lucky a little bit.
And actually, that's been most of what I've talked with people about today, is just that very thing of what did we learn from all of this. It certainly is an opportune moment for us to go through another round of emergency response training and planning, and that's going to be a high priority the next month or so.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. That's what I'd say about exercising. You really ought to, a couple of times a year, pull a fuse down there and see what happens.
Well, that's actually one of the things that's been an ongoing effort for the last few years is to, I don't know if you remember this, we had an instance where there had been a power outage, everything came back except they discovered, but the SCADA system wasn't working properly, and they discovered that we could only run one pump manually at the intake. Well, fortunately, it was a big one, and it was winter time, so the demand was low. But we've been gradually working through training and testing to make sure that we can run the entire plant manually without using the SCADA system. So, but still things happen. With this thing that happened this last week was a failure in an actual switch. So
Yeah. Well, what it underlines for us is how so many people are dependent on our systems, and how really we can come close to getting into trouble, because if the plant goes down, how many hours of water do we have?
depends on the season, but between 8 and 12. Maybe
And
16.
if you throw a situation like Thursday night in, where you've got storms and perhaps, tree limbs, this, that, and the other, fires happen, and we had a couple of major fires, that shrinks that tank storage down significantly.
Fire was my biggest worry when the plant, when the
That
plant
was-
is disabled, that's my biggest worry.
Right, yeah. And are all of our tanks up, or we got one down for maintenance now? I can't
We have
remember.
one down for maintenance.
And so that shrunk our window, didn't it?
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit.
Okay,
But what, the question there is that we have 5 million gallons at Monroe at any given time that we can use to replenish tanks as their levels fall. So in addition to whatever storage there is in the local tanks, we can replenish to some degree from the 5 million gallon tank at Monroe.
I think I remember, don't we have some contracts that are more or less retainers? That's probably not the right term for electricians, but.
On-call contracts, yes.
Yeah, and
Yes.
so that really I imagine you probably use that.
We did. Yeah,
And
we
so
did.
that underlines, the next time we have to consider that, it's worth every nickel of it to know that we're top on the list to get somebody down there to help out.
And then we're getting someone who's been there enough times to know what they're dealing with, to know.
Now,
to
that
know-
doesn't mean we need to pay more than we have in the
no.
past. It just means that it's important, and that's good. Well, yeah, I'm eternally grateful for not only the water team that got Monroe back up, but again, all the stormwater people that had to be working, because we had a lot of stuff in the streets that were causing local street flooding and things, and that takes a lot of work all night.
It does.
So thanks. Please pass that along.
I certainly will, thank you.
Anything else?
No, that's all I have.
Are there any petitions or communications from the public? All right, and then if they're hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay. The meeting is adjourned. There we go.